question slide up. Anytime there's a question slide up, your answer will be included if you text it in. So I'm going to do one slide just to try it out. You'll see that the instructions are up at the top. So if you missed the instructions for joining remotely, you can do that. The question is, what concerns you most when you think about Social Security? And this is a open answer question. So go ahead and type in the answer rather than A, B, C, D. What concerns you most when you think about Social Security? Will the money be there when I retire? That's a good one. Will it still be funded when I retire? We're going to address that question right away, okay? Will it be there when I retire? A lot of people, now, it won't be enough. That may be true, so we need to plan around that. When is best to start taking it? We'll talk through that. It may not be here when I retire in 40 years. Yep, not getting the most I'm entitled to, all right? Maximizing my payment. These are all fantastic. Maximizing my monthly payment. So it looks like we're figuring out how to use this answering software. Give you a couple more moments. All right, what will be the monthly retirement to live comfortably? Now, some of that is going to be a planning question related to how much income you're going to need outside of Social Security, and that is certainly something you want to talk to your advisor about. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. Thank you for engaging in all of those answers. So today I'm going to cover the basics of Social Security, and then we're going to talk about maximizing. What can you do to maximize the Social Security benefit? So I'm going to start with the question, OASDI. Maybe you've never heard of that before. What does that mean? Does that mean one's allowed security deserved income? Text or type in A. Oh, American Savings did increase B. Old age survivors disability insurance C. Old adult special deposit income D. Or old accountant special deserved income E. OASDI is the portion of your FICA taxes, that 7.5% about, that's taken out of your paycheck, that goes to pay for Social Security. And it is actually old age survivor disability insurance. Most of you got that. Now, this presents a problem for someone who's turning 65, because at 65, you don't really feel like you're old age, do you? And, you know, it really is essentially Social Security is a retirement plan for folks that are reaching retirement age. But it is old age survivor disability that does remind us that there are other pieces, including not just retirees, but survivors of retirees that are benefited by Social Security. So first question, a lot of folks ask this question: will Social Security be there for me? The answer is yes, it will, but it may look different. Okay, if you the last time you got your Social Security statement, right under where they promise you how much the projection is, they say in small black print, if nothing changes by the year 2033, we will only be able to pay 79 cents per dollar of what we've promised. Okay, now that's just based on the current laws. Essentially, think of Social Security as a pyramid scheme. All right. Pyramid scheme is where there are folks at the top that are receiving a benefit. There are folks at the bottom Folks at the bottom are paying into that benefit. Retirees are receiving payments from people who are working today, and it's a flow through. You'd be surprised maybe that there's not a pile of money that is being saved up for Social Security for you. Money goes into the federal budget through the OASDI taxes, and in the same year, it's paid out to beneficiaries. Now, historically, we've had a lot more money coming in than needed to pay the benefits. The excess was not saved. It was spent on bridges and roads and other projects. What's happened as the baby boomers have entered retirement, they're a much bigger demographic, so that triangles kind of become a rectangle, and there's not as many Gen Xers like my age, and then there's a lot more millennials. So what's happened is we're in the situation where it's no longer a pyramid, it's more of a rectangle. At some point, it'll be an upside down. And at that point, they won't be able to pay as much. So if you want to be careful with Social Security, multiply it by 0.79%, what they're promising you. Now, I've seen that as low as 0.73. I've been in this industry for a while. It's gone up for probably a couple of reasons. One is demographics. The other is they've increased the Social Security wage base. So that may even change. But there are lots of ways that they can fix the Social Security problem. They could simply increase that OASDI tax a little bit in order to cover the benefits coming out. Thinking from the perspective of a politician, which is dangerous, my goal is to get reelected, and we've promised older folks that we're going to give them Social Security. Very likely, we're not going to reduce Social Security benefits. I don't see that happening. I rather see an increase in taxes. That's my opinion, but it would be a pretty easy fix. So I'm not as concerned, but if you want to be cautious, plan for maybe 3/4 of what they promise. Nothing wrong with that. All right, so who is eligible? When are you eligible? What benefits can you expect? And how do you apply? That's what we're going to do for the basics. So who's eligible? You are eligible if you earn 40 credits. Okay, you earn 1 credit in 2022 by earning $1,510. You can earn up to 4 credits in a year. So if you earn $6,040 this year, you will earn 4 credits. Do that for 10 years and you will have 40 credits and you will be eligible. You will be fully insured for Social Security. Now, how are these benefits calculated? These benefits are calculated using your top 35 years of income. Okay, so you look back at your income history, they adjust all the incomes based on inflation, so they're comparing apples to apples. They take your top 35 years, they plug that into the math to come up with your primary insured amount, PIA, primary insured amount, which is what you will receive at your full retirement age. Okay, now we're going to talk about adjustments to that in a minute, but your PIA is what you would receive at your full retirement age. Most of us, that's 67 years old. I say this because some people ask, well, what happens if I take a part-time job for the last 3 years and before I retire? Will that reduce my Social Security benefit? The answer is no. Adding income can only increase your benefit. If you add a lower income, you may not increase your benefit because you might have 35 years of higher inflation-adjusted earnings, but it won't lower your benefit. Okay? Now, if you've only worked 30 years, you haven't worked 35 years, then you will have zeros, and those zeros will be included in the math. If you work and earn a lower income than the other 30 years, you'll still increase your benefit because you'll drop off a 0. So don't be afraid to continue working. Don't be afraid to continue earning money, even if it's less than you typically have. It won't reduce your benefit. It just may not increase it. Okay, so when are you eligible? You are eligible as early as 62 years old, but there will be 2 potential reductions. One, you can start your benefit as early as 62, but your benefit will be reduced for life. You never get that benefit reduction for starting early. You never get that back. The second reduction is if you start early and you earn too much money. We're going to talk about that more in a future slide. That reduction for working and earning too much money while you're drawing benefits, that will come back. That will come back at full retirement age. And I say this because some folks retire at 62 or they start drawing benefits at 62, but they're still working and they say, Tim, how much should I keep my income below in order to keep from losing Social Security benefits? And the answer is don't even worry about it. You love what you do, work as much as you want. Yes, they'll reduce your benefit when you're 62 and 63 and 64 and 65, but when you hit full retirement age, they will readjust your primary insurance amount based on all that benefit you lost because you were earning too much money. Okay, so I want to be clear to say it again. There are 2 reductions, one for starting early, that you don't get back, one for making too much money if you started early, that you do get back. All right, hopefully that's a little bit clearer than mud. All right, true or false, you will receive the largest benefit if you wait to file for benefits at full retirement age. Is that true or false? All right, lots of participation. I really do appreciate it. All right, the answer is actually false, but this is kind of a trick question. So good for those of you that said false. The benefit will be increased every year that you delay up until age 70. All right. Now, 65 to 67 is your full retirement age. That's not when you'll get the biggest benefit. What happens at your full retirement age is that's the age they use to calculate the primary insurance amount. If you draw before your full retirement age, you'll get a reduction for starting early. If you start after your full retirement age, you'll get an increase for delaying. All the way up till age 70, you'll get that increase. If you haven't started at age 70, it's time to start. There's no longer a benefit for delaying. So think of it as a range between 62 and 70. The longer you wait, the bigger the benefit becomes. Now, what is your full retirement age? Find your birth year over on the left side of the screen. And then on the right side of the screen, find your age for full retirement age. Some people come and say, oh, my full retirement age is until 70. No, not true. Actually, nobody's full retirement age at this point is over 67 years old. Most of it's is 67. If you were born before 1960, it's 66 and change. And again, what changes at full retirement age? Well, very little. At full retirement age, you can now start making as much as you want and not have to worry about that reduction for earning too much income. That's really what changes. At age 70 years old, there's no more increase for waiting. So start drawing at 70 if you haven't started already. So Tim, how big a deal is this? Monthly benefits increase by how much annually? About if you delay collecting. How much of an increase is it each month if you delay collecting? I'm sorry, each year. Big difference there. How much does your benefit increase each year due to delay? Love, love, love the participation. Thank you all. The answer is about 8%. So every year that you delay, your benefit goes up 8%. So let's put some kind of real world feel, real world examples on this. This is Tom Fuller. His full retirement age is 66 years old, and at his full retirement age, his benefit would be $900 a month. Now, if he draws early, he can draw as early as 62, in which case his benefit would be reduced to $645. If he instead waits until 70, his benefit will be $1,224. So who is eligible for Social Security? Well, Tom is fully insured, so he's eligible, but he also happens to be married, so he has the right to either his own benefit or half of his spouse's, whichever is higher. So let me introduce you to his spouse. His spouse is Sheila. Sheila's full retirement age is 66 years old. Her monthly benefit at 66, her PIA, primary insurance amount, is $2,200. If she draws early at 62, it would be $1,576 a month. If she draws at 70, delays till 70, $2,993. So together, they could choose to draw separately, and if they did, Tom would draw $900, Sheila would draw $2,200, a family benefit of $3,100. But Tom has the right to half of Sheila's. So if he takes his spousal benefit, he would receive $1,100, which is half of Sheila's $2,200. Sheila still gets her full benefit for a total of $3,300. All right. The purpose of this is simply to protect a non-working spouse or a spouse that's worked less. There are a lot of situations, including my own, where my wife has surrendered some of her earnings ability in order to care for kids. And we want to make sure that we're protecting spouses who do that. So it's a good thing. Technically, I'm going to dive into the weeds a little bit, just in case you're interested. If Tom takes $1,100 as a spousal benefit, he's actually receiving $900 of his own benefit and $200 to bring his benefit up to $1,100. That is important when you start doing math in terms of what the reductions would be. All right. So who is eligible for Social Security in addition to Tom and Sheila? Well, if they have a child who's under 18 or still in high school and 19, okay, she would be eligible. She would qualify for 1/2 of the worker's full retirement age benefit. In this case, Sheila's benefit's $2,200. Sienna, the daughter, would receive $1,100 until she's 18 or out of high school. Okay, I've got a question about Sheila's ex. I'll answer that in a couple slides. Great question. You're already thinking ahead. Now, who else is eligible? Divorced spouses, age 62 or older, qualify as a spouse if the marriage lasted 10 years or longer, and if they aren't remarried when they hit 60 years old. Okay, so if you remain unmarried and you were married for more than 10 years, you can receive a spousal benefit. All right, so there's another question I'll just go ahead and grab. If he takes $900 at age 62, works full-time, gets a reduced benefit, then at full retirement, he returns to collecting $900. So let me just go ahead and address this. What happens is, if a person has a reduced benefit because they earned too much money prior to full retirement age, the PIA will be recalculated as if they hadn't retired. Okay, so let's do this. Let's use an extreme example. I filed at 62 years old and I made so much money each year until full retirement age that I had no benefit. They would recalculate at PIA my amount as if I retired at PIA. Now, if over the process of my earning too much, I lost half of my benefit, then they would change the benefit to if I waited about halfway between 62 and full retirement age. If the other spouse is remarried, is the unmarried ex-spouse still eligible? So the way I understand,
welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
If you're divorced and your ex-spouse gets remarried, that does not impact what you're eligible for. I think that answers the question that you're asking. Okay. If it doesn't, email Terry and I'll give you a better answer on that, or a more complete answer on that. So this is Sheila's ex Frank, and I just love this picture. I like putting it up. Here is a guy that loves life. All right. Now he lasted 11 years. His marriage lasted 11 years. Good for Sheila. All right. Real saint. His full retirement age is 66 years old. His benefit is $800 and he remains unmarried. All right. He qualifies for half of the worker's full retirement benefit. In this case, his benefit's $800. His ex-spouse benefit is $1,100. So he would receive $1,100 regardless of what Sheila does in terms of marriage. Okay. 2 things to think about. All right. Number 1, if you collect Social Security early and continue to work, the limits for 2022, you can earn up to $19,560. And if you earn more than that, they'll reduce your benefit $1 for every $2 in earnings above the limit. So I'm going to round up to $20,000. You make $30,000 this year. That's $10,000 above the limit. They're going to reduce your Social Security benefit $5,000. Now, when you get to full retirement age, the year that you turn full retirement age, the limit goes up to almost $52,000 and is reduced to $1 for every $3 in earnings. Now, when you reach full retirement age, the limit goes away. So when you reach 66 and change or 67, whatever your full retirement age is, then you can make as much as you want. Now, let's say there is what's called a special earnings limits rule. Let's say you work till July 1 and then you retire. And in the first 6 months, you make $70,000. So you would be eligible for no Social Security benefits. It would all be taken away. All right. The special earnings rule says that if you're under full retirement age, we will pay you for any year that you had less than, it's about $1,600 of income, and you were not, what's the right word? The right word is substantially self-employed. Okay. So that means don't worry about earning too much money the year that you retire. There is a special earnings rule. I'd be happy to send you a link to that website to explain that. Let me catch up on some chats here. Can you draw half of spouse at 62 and switch to your full retirement age to your full at 67? We're going to address that a little more fully later, but that strategy has gone away. I'll show you what strategies are still there. The deeming rule says when you apply, you're deemed to apply for the biggest amount. So in that situation, if you file for Social Security hoping to get half of your spouse's and then switch at 67, at that point, if your spouse, since your spouse is already eligible, you get the highest of the two. All right. So more on that in a moment. There was a change about 3-4 years ago that changed that. Earnings does not include investment income. Earnings is your wages. Okay, so what you earn as an employed individual. Okay, second thing to keep in mind, your taxes, your Social Security benefit is taxable. It's taxable as ordinary income. The question is, how much of it is included in your ordinary income? So you're familiar with the ordinary income, right? I make this much income, I put it up against a tax table, whatever tax bracket I'm in, that's how much I pay in taxes. All right, well, you're going to have some income that you're drawing from perhaps a pension or perhaps your 403B or a 401k or an IRA. That is income, ordinary income. In retirement, they make you do some math. They make you calculate your provisional income. Your provisional income is the earnings, so pensions, your pre-tax 401k, dividends, taxable interest from investments. Add to that half of your Social Security benefit. If that total is under $25,000, none of your Social Security benefit is taxable as income. It's not included in your income. If that provisional income is between $25,000 and $34,000, half of your Social Security benefit is taxable as income. If, and this is single, it's over $34,000, 85% is included as taxable income. It's not taxed at an 85% rate. 85% of your Social Security benefit is included as taxable income. Now, the limits are different for a married person. It's $32,000 and $44,000 respectively. Now, here's an advantage to Roth savings. That Roth distribution is not included in that income. So if you save up enough Roth, you may be able to keep your Social Security from being as taxed. If I was employed in Wisconsin and then moved to a state where Social Security is not taxable, I will no longer be taxed once I move. There are some states where Social Security is not taxed, and your taxes on Social Security, your federal taxes will not be impacted by your move, but your state taxes would be impacted. I think you were thinking about that correctly. Now would be an appropriate time for me to say I am not a tax advisor, so please talk to a tax advisor to get qualified tax advice. But I think you were thinking about that right. The taxable you are referring to is federal only. Yes, that is correct. So this is federal income tax. There are potentially state income taxes. Talk to your tax advisor. All right, so consider saving Roth if you haven't. That's a great way to build some flexibility and maybe even save yourself some taxes. There are two ways that you can find your benefit, okay? One is through My Social Security. You can set up a login ID and password just like you do for 403Bs and 401Ks and IRAs, and you can log in and they'll say, hey, here's your projected benefit. Or, and I've done this with a lot of folks, you can go to ssa.gov and you can find the calculators and you can click on Estimate My Retirement Benefit. You give them your name, your Social Security number, your birth date, your mother's maiden name, the state you were born in, and then last year's income. They'll use the rest of your earnings history to calculate what your Social Security benefit will be and give you a projection. It's pretty easy to do. So if you don't know what your benefits are, check them out. Check it out online. They'll give you your 70 or 62 full retirement and 70-year-old benefit age, and then the calculator will allow you to add a different year if you want to add 65, for example. Social Security calculators, are they present value or future value? That's a very keen question. Good for you. The benefits, your statements you receive, they are today's dollars. So if they say you're going to get $1,500 at your full retirement age, that's $1,500 of today's bread, milk, and cookies that you could buy. All right. Now, the calculator online at ssa.gov, if you do that calculator, they will give you an option of projecting a future benefit if you want to find the future, what your future dollars would be. Is the non-taxable for Roth IRA and Roth 401k? That is correct. Whether you're taking out of a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, it will not be included as taxable income. Again, I'm not a tax advisor. That's my best answer I can give you. If you talk to a tax advisor and they say Tim's wrong, they're right. All right, that's a great question. And you can always roll that Roth 401k into a Roth IRA. That way you can do things like avoid required minimum distributions, which are different between a Roth 401k and a Roth IRA. Fantastic questions. This is a good group, Terry. No falling asleep on this one. Strategies to maximize Social Security benefits. You know, the one thing that you need to know in order to determine when to best draw your Social Security benefit is when you're going to pass away, right? You need to know your life expectancy to know which strategy will be the best. All right. Now, there are some things we can do since we don't know when what our life expectancy is going to be. There are some things that we can do to try to get the most out of Social Security. Some of these have been taken away, but some of them haven't. So I'll explain the ones that have been taken away. I'll explain the ones that are remaining. The first thing, of course, you can do is you can delay taking your benefits. Frankly, it's hard to match the inflation-adjusted annuity income stream that Social Security provides by taking money out and investing it. Okay, it's just difficult to do. The longer you delay, the bigger your benefit will be. And we've got this example we stole from Money Magazine. Let's say that you start drawing Social Security at 62 years old and your benefit is $1,500. Notice how at 66 you'll have a bigger benefit because there is a cost of living adjustment. At 74 there's a bigger benefit, 2017 because of the cost of living adjustment. At 81 years old, your check will be bigger because of the cost of living adjustment. So the check gets bigger due to inflation. However, if you delayed and drew at 66, notice how at 66 you have a bigger benefit, in this case 2,208 rather than 1,656. And each year, the cost of living adjustment keeps that delayed benefit bigger. So some of you are saying, yeah, but Tim, the guy who drew at 62, he has more checks. His dollar amount's smaller, yeah, but he's drawn more checks, and you're absolutely right. In this case, there is a break-even age. In this example, the break-even age is 81 years old. Now, how do you decide? Well, if you're interested in talking Excel spreadsheets and calculations, it's kind of a fun exercise. But for the 90% of the rest of us who would like to leave Excel at work, it's kind of confusing and complicated. This is a pretty good illustration. You have to simply compare the benefit you'll receive, the accumulated benefits you'll receive by starting at different ages. Make sure if you're doing this calculation that you're adjusting the starting amount due to both the delay and due to inflation, all right? But what I've done, if I'm deciding between 62, I just have an accumulated benefit, and 70, I have an accumulated benefit. When they're substantially even, that's my break-even age. Notice the break-even age for 62 to 70 is about 77. The break-even age for 68 to 70 is about 80. The break-even age says, how long do I have to live for the delay to benefit me? For those of us who are not Excel spreadsheet fans, all right, this is a pretty good chart. I pulled this one. Take a screenshot of this. I got it from figuide.com. It's down at the bottom there if you want to find it yourself. They're all over, but in this case, you would say, what's the break-even age between drawing at 62 and full retirement age of 67? Well, I would have to live to 78 years old in order for that delay to be beneficial. All right. So how long are you going to live? That's going to be part of the question. Yes, Terry.
I just wanted to let everybody know that what we've done in the past sessions, in case you haven't attended those, is we will send you the slide deck. So you will have this to refer to, because I know that probably will be another question.
Yep. Headed off at the pass. Good call. All right. Now, hear me very carefully on this one. Think of this as a 12-pound sledgehammer, not as a jeweler's screwdriver. What do I mean by that? Use this for big, broad decisions. Don't use this for fine decisions. You know, if you ask me, you know, should I draw at 67 or 68? My question is going to be, you know, are you going to die early at 78 years old or later at 78 years old? Who knows? Right? So it's not a fine-tuned thing, but if you have parents and grandparents and uncles and aunts who have all had the same malady and as a result die of natural causes when they're in their 70s, well, you know, the big picture says draw as early as you can. So it's a good tool if you know, boy, you know, I'm likely to live to 95 because my Lisa's great grandma just passed away at 103. She's going to think long into this. All right. If you have a lot of people that pass away early in life, think short into this, but don't spend too much time trying to be really careful with this. Hopefully that was relatively clear. All right. Coordinate spousal benefits. You can still coordinate some of your spousal benefits, but there are some ground rules. You cannot collect a spousal benefit until your spouse files for their own benefit, unless you're divorced. If you're divorced, it doesn't matter what your ex-spouse does. You may file for your spousal benefit when you're eligible at 62. Okay? So you can't file for a spousal benefit until your spouse has filed. And if you file for a spousal benefit, it will be reduced if you draw before full retirement age, but it won't be increased to age 70. So in my case, my wife is not yet fully insured. She has 39 of the required 40 quarters. If that stays in place until we retire, she would have a reduced benefit. If she drew at 62, it would get bigger until she hit 67 or full retirement age. It won't get any bigger as she delays. So if you're taking a spousal benefit, don't delay beyond full retirement age. There's not a benefit to waiting there. So one of the easiest one is to have one spouse collect early and one spouse wait. And I love to do this with spouses who are both eligible. I don't know what my break-even age is, but I'll have one draw early and one draw late. Guys, typically we pass away first. And especially if you happen to have a higher benefit, maybe have the guy delay and the spouse draw early. Reason being, the spouse's benefit will be smaller because it's reduced. But if the husband dies, if the guy dies, the spouse will learn in a bit, will be able to take over his full benefit and will be able to continue to benefit from his delay. So it is literally the gift that keeps on giving, the positive gift that keeps on giving. So, and we'll dive into this a little bit more. You could have one spouse wait to collect. So in this case, you have Tom draw at 62 years old. He'd start drawing 645. And then when Sheila starts collecting, Tom switches to his spousal benefit. Now, this is a little bit backwards from the question asked originally. Originally, the question that one of the observers, one of the attendees asked was, can I draw my spousal benefit and then draw my own? That you cannot do. But you can start drawing your own. At this point, Tom's not eligible for a spousal benefit because Sheila hasn't filed yet. He cannot draw his spousal benefit until Sheila files. When she files, then he can draw his spousal benefit. All right. When Sheila collects, Tom switches his benefit. She gets almost $3,000, and Tom now, instead of getting $645, he gets a little bit less than $1,100. There's some math in here. He started his benefit early. He's still receiving his benefit, but he gets a spousal benefit, but it is reduced a little bit because he started early. Had he delayed till full retirement age, there'd be no reduction there. All right. So that is still available. You can draw your own and then draw your spouse's when your spouse files. Okay. Collecting survivor benefits. Surviving spouses can collect on a deceased worker's record if married for at least 9 months. Okay. You receive 100% of the full benefit at full retirement age. And as a surviving spouse, they give you a little bit earlier withdrawal date. You can start withdrawing as early as age 60. Okay. This is very common with young widows or young widowers. Okay. If you still are caring for a child who is under 18 or under 19, or if you're caring for a child with a disability, you can receive survivor benefits. Okay, you can still have those benefits. Then it drops off when the child becomes 18 or 19 and out of high school, and then you can pick it up again at 60. So the planning issue for that person is that gap between when you're caring for the kids and when you can access that benefit at 60. If someone had disability that changed at 66 to normal, does that count at full retirement age? I'm going to have you email that question to Terry. I'm going to give my immediate response, which is, I do not believe that disability counts as an early withdrawal or early taking Social Security early. But I want you to please send that to Terry so that I can correct that if I'm wrong on that. All right, so survivor benefits. Tom's benefits $900. Sheila has delayed to 70, so she can receive almost $3,000 per month. When Sheila passes away, Tom can then collect the almost $3,000. And I should mention this: Tom would collect the almost $3,000 that Sheila is drawing, but he would no longer collect the $900 that he is drawing. So the family income would go down from $3,800 to just $2,900. Okay, so there will be a reduction there if one spouse passes, but the spouse that's receiving the lower amount will be able to receive the higher amount. Okay, divorced spouses can claim the survivor benefit if the marriage lasted for 10 years. And if you're entitled to both, this is a little different. If you're entitled to both the individual and the survivor benefit, you can collect one, then switch to the other at a later date. Now, this goes back to that question somebody asked about drawing their spousal benefit first and then drawing their own benefit. That you can't do. But if you are a surviving spouse or a surviving ex-spouse, you can. You can take one benefit and then take the other one later when it's bigger. All right. Now, hopefully what this conversation is doing is making you think, wow, I got to figure out what my situation is and what rules apply. And I would encourage you, talk to the Social Security Administration office. They are very good people, very capable people. I've never had someone come back and say, wow, that visit with Social Security Administration, that was awful. Never should have done that. I've had people say, I've had trouble getting in. I had trouble getting an appointment. But they will help you with exactly what you are eligible to receive under all these different situations. So I would encourage, if you're getting within a year of retirement, I encourage a visit to the SSA office. So let's talk about this gentleman again. His monthly benefit if Sheila lives is 1,100. That's his spousal benefit. Remember, his own benefit was 800, but he's taken his spousal benefit because it's bigger. If Sheila dies, his benefit goes to 2,200. I don't know why, but it does. Okay. Now, if you, they say that, and we don't hope anybody passes. We don't wish bad on anybody, right? But the Social Security office will receive word if an ex-spouse dies, sometimes through funeral homes will do it. Sometimes they'll know if they already know. Sometimes they don't. So if you've lost touch with an ex-spouse and you don't know, it doesn't hurt to ask Social Security admin, you know, do I have a spousal benefit and what is it? There are situations where Social Security may not know that you are eligible for a bump up. You may be earning your own benefit because it's bigger, but now the spouse, your ex-spouse is deceased, your benefit would be bigger. So it doesn't hurt to ask. Okay, so. Okay, so the no longer allowed options, file and suspend, is no longer allowed. Higher wage earner, Sheila, applies at full retirement age, but suspends. She does that so that Tom, the lower wage earner, can now start his spousal benefit. Sheila's benefit can increase until she's 70, and then she can take her own benefit at a bigger amount, but Tom gets to start early. This is no longer allowed because of the deeming rule. When you apply for Social Security, unless you're a survivor or a surviving divorced spouse, for everybody else, you're deemed to apply for the biggest benefit you're eligible for. Okay? So they won't allow file and suspend unless you reach full retirement age before April 30th of 2016. Somebody asked, you mentioned that ex-spouse cannot have remarried at age 60. What happens if they remarry at age 61? That will not reduce your benefit if you marry after. And I believe the age, I want to say the age is 60. Let me see if I've got that here. I've got that really quickly. The thing that I'm asking myself here is if you receive the benefit before, or if you marry before 60 or 62, yeah. If you remarry, this is from the Social Security website, if you remarry after you reach age 60 or age 50 if you have a disability, the remarriage will not affect your eligibility for survivor benefits. Okay, it's a great question. So if you remarry after 60. Okay, file and suspend no longer allowed. Restricted application, no longer allowed. At full retirement age, this is the old strategy, okay? At full retirement age, a wage earner restricts their benefit only to their spousal benefit, then switches over to their own later. Now, when you file, you get the higher of the two. So that is also not available unless you were born before 1954. 1954. Where do I learn more about this? Go to ssa.gov. They've got all sorts of information about this. Very, very easy to read, very, very easy to access. You can call them at 800-722-1213, or you can visit a local office. They are very helpful. They will try to direct you to the website, but I would encourage you to go here. If you have a question about something I mentioned here, I would strongly encourage you, email Terry. There's going to be a really good link to some really good information I can send you so you can get really good answers. But do that for the planning purposes. But when it comes time to apply, go to the office and talk to someone, or call someone and talk to someone. You may apply 4 months in advance of when you're going to draw Social Security. If you're going to do Social Security and Medicare at the same time, maybe you're going to retire at 65, you want both at the same time, apply 3 months in advance, because that's the earliest you can apply for Social Security, 3 months in advance of 65. I would say this also, as soon as you know when you're going to draw benefits, apply for them right away, 4 months in advance. Why? We had COVID hit. That really stretched the processing time. A lot of folks were in peril of having their benefits delayed because they filed 2 months or 1 month in advance, and now the processing time is longer than that. So as soon as you know, you want to do the application. All right, that is maximizing your Social Security benefits. My email does appear here. However, if you have a question, email Terry. She can forward it to me. She can then do what she wants with the answer. But I am happy to take a question specific on this if you'd like. I think I've kept up with the chat questions. If anybody else has chat questions, feel free to chat it in. I'll stick around for a little bit. Otherwise, I'll hand it off to Terry.
Yes, we can stick around for a minute or two in case somebody has another question they think of. I do believe you kept up with the chat very well, by the way. So I think we have all of those questions answered. I will be sending the slide deck and the recording to all of you that attended today. I typically just send that out to everyone that registered so that for those that weren't able to attend today, they also can view the recording at their convenience. Usually takes a day or two for me to be able to access that. If you have questions in the meantime, you can again email me, email Tim, and we'll try and turn those around. I will include the slide deck, and I don't think we had any materials, any documents for this session, so you won't have anything in that nature, just the slide deck and the recording, and then a very, very brief survey. So if you have time to do that, we would appreciate that. And I don't see any other questions coming in. Tim, thank you. Wonderful presentation. Thanks for everyone's attendance today and excellent questions, just very excellent questions. And if you think of anything else, please don't hesitate. We will be happy to answer those post session today. And then tomorrow we have our session on navigating Medicare. From 5 to 6 p.m. And you should receive, if you signed up for that session, you should receive a reminder, just like you did today, about 15 minutes beforehand via email. And if for some reason you don't get that and you're concerned, just let me know and I can send you the link. And thanks for your attendance today. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.